Hi, welcome. In this video, I'm going to go over assignment 5 to help you guys get started. So a couple of things I've prepared already for assignment 5 is I have my assignment 4. So I have my code here from assignment 4 because I'm going to continue with the veggie. So in assignment 4, I did veggie struct. And now in assignment 5, I'm going to do class veggie. So I have that available for me to, so I don't have to do as much typing. But first, let's take a look at the assignment and go over the requirements for the assignment. So you can go here into the assignments or you can follow through the modules, but we are now on assignment 5, which is class design. So I need to leave the student view because it's not available yet. So let's take down this assignment. We're not going to be reading from an input file on this, and we're also not going to be doing separate compilation. You're just going to create one file, and I'm also going to download the template. So the video will be here, and the order in which you want to put things in your file, you want to put at the top your header comment, which describes what the program does, then followed by your preprocessor directives, and I recommend also including using namespace standards so you don't have to put the STD with the scope resolution operator throughout your code. That can go globally at the top of your program. Then you're going to do your class declaration. This is going to include your private member variables and your public functions, just the declaration of them, not the implementation. So we want to separate the declaration from the implementation as if we were separating them into separate files, but we're not going to make separate files because it's a lot to manage and submit. But we're going to separate our declaration. So what you would put in the declaration is what would go in your .h file. And then you're going to do your class member function implementation. This is where you're going to use the scope resolution operator to do the blocks of code that are the definitions for your member functions. Then we're going to have a couple of non-member functions. So your non-member function prototypes will go next, followed by your main function, followed by your non-member function definitions. And I've had given you a template here to follow. So this is not, this assignment is a little, it's a little tedious, but it shouldn't be all that time consuming. So I am giving you example with vegetable. And I don't want you to use vegetable. I want you to use whatever struct that you did for assignment 4. So it's important that you are comfortable with assignment 4 before moving on to assignment 5. So what I've just shown you and just discussed here is the order in which we want things to be in your code. So you're going to submit one code file, and that one code file is going to have this information in it. So you can use this to help you get started, and my plan is to use this to help me get started, and then I can copy and paste some of the things from my program 4 so I don't have to type again. So we start out, you have here, you have your header comment. You're going to need to update the header comment in here and describe what the program does. This is given to you. There isn't any reason to not use the template that is given to you, or at least use it as a guide so that you know what I'm looking for and my expectations for the assignment. Then you have your preprocessor directives. We will be using IOStream for standard input and output, and we will also be using string for the string class. My recommendation is to put this using namespace standard up here. This way you don't have to put the STD with the scope resolution operator throughout your code every time that you want to use strings or C in and C out. You will notice we're not using files for this, so you don't need to include fstream. Then you're going to have your class declaration. The class declaration is where you declare your class. It's a block of code with an opening curly brace and a closing curly brace and a semicolon. So this would be the same as how you declared in assignment 4 your struct. You will most likely, I would assume, use the same 5 member variables. The difference here, now we are going to have 5 private member variables, and you're going to have some public member functions. This is all provided for you. I don't want you to use vegetable. I want you to, again, use whatever you use for assignment 4. So I have my assignment 4 here available to me. And so now I can take these variables here and I can add them so I don't have to retype that. So some things you can use and some things you're obviously going to add. We are moving on from just a struct onto a class. We want to make all of our member variables private. You should have 5 of them. And one of them should be a unique ID because eventually we are going to be making an array of objects and searching. So each time you have an object, it should have a unique ID. In your class declaration, you're also going to include the prototypes for your functions. So you will have a default constructor. That is a constructor that assigns whatever you want values to be default. Every time an object of your data type gets declared, there will be a default constructor. You're also, for this assignment, you will have an explicit value constructor. I'm going to put all 5 values into my explicit value constructor. So when I can, I can either default, have my vegetables by default, which my default is a carrot. So the way that I implement my default constructor is I assign the values I want to be for carrot. And then with my explicit value constructor, you can uh, declare an object of type vegetable, but you can pass it a string for the name of the vegetable, the color, the ID, the cost, and the price. So you're going to have your two constructors, your default constructor and your explicit value constructor. And this is all in the declaration right here, which is where we are here on class declaration. All right, this is incomplete. I have added my 5 member variables, but I also need to have 5 mutator functions. Another name for mutator functions is called a setter function. So it usually has the name set, and you're going to have 5 of them. You're going to have a set name function, a set color function, a set ID function, a set cost function, and a set price function. Obviously, if you're not using vegetable, you will have different data types that you're going to be using, but for mine, that's what I would have. I will have 5 mutator functions, and those are functions that give access outside of the class to the private member variables because classes, you cannot access private member variables directly with the dot operator. You need to, if you want to set a value, you need to use a mutator function, and then the accessor functions, another name for those are called getter functions, and I will have 5 of those as well. So I will add one more here just to show you. I'm going to add one more mutator function here. This is going to be set ID, and it's going to take an integer. So you're going to need 5 of these. You're going to have one for each one of your private member variables. And then you're going to have 5 of these. So I'm going to have, and usually these start with get. And these are const, and some compilers recommend that you add the const there. So I'm putting it there. It's not required, but it's recommended. So for this assignment, that's all you're going to be doing is you're going to create a class. You're going to take the struct that you did, but you're going to change it into a class. Your class is going to have 2 constructors, 1 default, 1 explicit value. Then you're going to have 10 member functions. 5 will be mutator functions. Those are the ones that you set values for your private member variables. And 5 of them will be accessor functions, and those are where you are able to get those values. So they should start with a set, and the mutator functions are setters or start with set, and the accessor functions are getters or start with get. So once you've completed your declaration, that's the declaration of your class, then you're going to have to, down below it, you're going to do the implementation. So I've already helped you here with the implementation. This is my default constructor. So in my default constructor, what I'm going to be doing in my default constructor is I'm going to be saying the name equals carrot and the color equals orange. And we're going to you can just give don't forget to put semicolons on every statement. And you will be doing this in your IDE, so you will have, I'm just doing this in Notepad, but you hopefully will be doing this in your IDE, and then you will, you'll be able to check it. But you don't want to do everything all at once. You just want to do a few things and make sure that it works. So you can make up your IDs. So anyway, this is my default constructor. This is the one that will be set. All 5 values will be set when any object of type vegetable gets called. The explicit value constructor is a little bit different. So the explicit value constructor, you're going to assign, so whatever string comes into this function will get assigned to the name. Whatever string comes into this function will get assigned to the color. Whatever ID comes in will get assigned to the ID, and then you just have to add the other 2 values. So you should have 5 values. So now we are on the class member function implementation. So up here is our preprocessor directives and our using clause. Then we have our class declaration, do not use vegetable. Then we have our member functions. The first one is our default constructor. The next one is our explicit value constructor. Obviously, you won't be using vegetable. You have to add the scope resolution operator. Then we will have our 5 mutator functions and our 5 accessor functions. So that's going to be our class, our definition and declaration for our class. And then, of course, this is one file. So we are going to have a couple of non-member functions. So we will have 2 non-member functions, and these are the function prototypes for them. One is going to allow you to get the information for a veggie. You pass it by reference, and you're going to fill the vegetable with user input. And then the other function is going to take a vegetable by reference, constant reference, because you're not going to modify it, and it's going to have you print all of the information for one single vegetable. So you will have these functions. These are programmer defined functions. They are non-member functions. So the non-member function prototypes will go above your main function. And then you will have your main function, which is where you're going to do the work. And then below you will have the function implementation for the 2 non-member functions. This is the get veggie info. So you're going to have the user enter some information about your veggie, and you're not going to use veggie, obviously, about your class object. And when you fill it in, you have to use the mutator function to set the values. So the purpose of this assignment is practicing using the mutator functions. So you're going to have to ask for the information one by one and get the information and use your mutator functions to set the name, the color, the ID, the cost, and the price. And then you're going to have one more function that's going to one by one print the information onto the screen. Because ID, name, color, cost, and price are all private member variables, you're going to have to use your accessor functions to get those values. So this is just getting you used to the concept of building a class, creating a class. This doesn't involve anything, too extensive. You just are going to practice creating your class. I recommend using the same object that you created from your assignment 4. You can copy and paste some things in. We will not be using an input file, so you're going to declare 4 objects of your new type. So one object is going to be with the explicit value constructor. You will see I have vegetable V1, and it's going to call the explicit value constructor because I'm going to pass it the name of the vegetable, the color of the vegetable, a unique ID, the cost, and the price. Then when I declare vegetable V2, V3, and V4, when these 3 get called, that is going to call the default constructor. So V2, V3, and V4 are actually going to be vegetables of carrot at this point. But then I'm only going to leave one of these as carrot, and I'm going to use the get veggie info function for the other two. So when I use the get veggie info function for the other two vegetables, it's going to override the default. So I'm going to repeat again here what's happening. In my main function, I will declare 4 objects of my type. So my type is vegetable. The first one I will be vegetable V1. I'm going to pass the 5 values to the function when I declare it. So it will not call the default constructor, it will call the explicit value constructor. So I will have a vegetable that is an onion and white and 555 and these values. Then I'm going to declare 3 more objects of type vegetable. This is going to call the default constructor 3 times. And if I wanted to print them out, I would see that I have 3 vegetables that are exactly the same because the default constructor, when you declare an object, the default constructor gets called. But then I have this function, get veggie info, that I need to complete, and that function is going to fill 2 of the vegetables. So I will have 4 objects of my type, and one of them will be the default object, one of them will be explicit value constructor object, and 2 of them will be filled using this function and the mutator functions to fill in the data one by one. Be sure to prompt for the data one by one. So hopefully this will help you get started on this assignment. As always, if you do not understand something or you want something clarified, please do not make any assumptions. Please ask. I know this is online, so it's very hard to, we're not able to uh, meet face to face. So that's why I make a new assignment and a new video every time. So please ask if you have any questions. All of the instructions should be in this assignment document. So this should help you also to help you get started. If there is something that is unclear, please ask. Sometimes it's very clear to me and I don't realize. Another thing, I don't recommend dealing with white space. It tends to make things a little more complicated. So you can, just use if you want to use books or something that has long names, just use the string class, but don't use white space. I mean, you're not going to be tested for it. This is the purpose of this assignment is not about dealing with white space. The purpose of this assignment is to practice declaring a class, writing member functions, using the scope resolution operator, using programmer defined functions, and using the accessor and mutator functions. And as always, there is a sample output here for you to take a look at. So if you have any questions, please ask. Thank you.